Hi, Leo. This is your December astrology reading. Let me hit some of this Palo Santo. I just want to make sure I got some clean energy in here real fast, in case you can't see. I'm trying to burn just a little bit. Yeah, see, it's even having trouble burning. There's a reason why it took a little bit of time to get going, and it won't stay going. All right, you guys are in your 5th house. This is for all Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus Leo signs. Now, let me let it burn for a minute. You are for all Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs in Leo for the month of December. Now, Spirit is making a very big deal of making sure that you are realizing you are in your 5th house at this time. And if you're holding on to a lot of grief, sorrow, shame, and blame, and you're afraid of that heart chakra and that throat chakra, being able to speak your truth, being able to speak, for one, coming out and say what you have to say versus, believing it. I'm not feeling like the heart chakra is it might be dealing with forgiveness, but I feel like it's self-love and self-trust is what I'm feeling, and being able to come into that inner emotional security, because the 5th house is all about your creativity, and you need to be right with self in order for your creativity to be healthy, is what I'm getting across the board. Now, as I get into the astrology and everything, I'll speak about it more. But they are telling me, there's some teaching going on. That's all part of that 5th house. Teaching and creativity, some new habits, new hobbies, new interests. But there is definitely some karmic debts. There is some situations going on with memberships, like your friends, your community, the membership, the larger groups, and are they supporting your goals and dreams? Maybe it's noticing the ones that are supporting them versus the ones that aren't. It's definitely about communication, which is all what I was saying. They're bouncing me back to larger groups and finding some of the hidden self within those larger groups. Now, that could be you finding your own hidden self and bringing it to the forefront and being able, like I said, to stand in your power and bring out that creativity. But you might also be acknowledging people in those larger groups, larger friendships, and some of their true hidden selves too, which may not because right now I'm getting like aggression or frustration. I'm sorry, I dropped my lid. Aggression or frustration. So you might be finding where some of the people around you, their motives may not be exactly wonderful for you. But Spirit says pay attention to your morals, your responsibilities. And I feel like responsibility is to yourself. And actually taking action. Not thinking about it, taking actual action. But you may have to overcome some of your own stubbornness and inflexibility in order to do so, which may be causing some of the frustration for some of you. But Spirit says look to the higher self, the higher mind, the higher education. And it'll lead you more correctly down the line of what you want. This has to do with communication, I think, with yourself and the outer world. Speaking from the heart, the soulfulness. This month has a lot to do with creativity for you. All right, now as I get into the astrology itself, let me remind you, Venus moved in to Capricorn. Yeah, Venus moved into Capricorn on the 25th of November. I'm backing up for just a minute so I can set the stage for you. Venus moved into Capricorn on the 25th. Capricorn is completely loaded for you. So your 6th house is very important right now. But that 6th house is going to help you create that 5th house to be the creativity you need for the month. The new moon in November took place actually in Sagittarius, but all month I was saying it was Scorpio Sagittarius because it was a void, of course. So that was all going to be about death and rebirthing into a higher self, a higher energy, letting go of the past. Then Neptune went direct on the 27th, right on top of Lilith. Now, that doesn't necessarily make it easier. Neptune is probably at its weakest until about January, like the 12th. And that's because it's in shadow on top of Lilith. So Lilith can be a positive aspect, but she can also be a very egotistical aspect. And the universal 12th house of where Neptune is, this is our magic and our hidden selves, our self-undoings, our self-deceptions of the magic we create. That grief, sorrow, shame, and blame. And with Lilith there, she's asking you to get right with where your soul fire is. When we get into where it is for us in our actual houses, I'll describe it in a different way, but I'm giving it to you on a universal. And I say us because I am a Leo. Now, that will make the marinated energy of that kind of shift is what I'm trying to get at. Neptune on top of Lilith is trying to bring out that soul fire. And where are you not doing it because of that grief, sorrow, shame, and blame? Where are you still holding on to the death instead of, where are you still holding on to what's in your mind alive? You're trying to hold on to the life when the death was supposed to happen with that new moon, so that a reincarnation could happen. Where are you keeping yourself from moving forward is what I'm trying to get at, because that's basically what Spirit just corrected me on. Now, as you move into December, Jupiter just moved into Capricorn on the 2nd. On the 9th, Mercury moves into Sagittarius, which is where our communication is. Okay? Up until the 28th. So it's here, not for the whole entire month even. It's very short-lived. But it is in that 5th house of our creativity. Now, the full moon is going to take place on the 12th. In Gemini, but it's going, in Cancer, but there's a void of course for the full moon. And the reason I'm saying that is it's going to be a little bit of Gemini and a little bit of Cancer. It really is in Cancer. However, I always see the full moon is 3 days long. And Spirit keeps giving me Taurus. And that's because last month it was in Taurus. So we're coming off of the end of that Taurus, independence, individuality, uniqueness, freedom, with Gemini's fickle change, and into Cancer of how you nest in that change and how you nurture that change. And that feminine creative energy. So this is still bringing a feminine creative changing energy into our independence, our individuality, uniqueness, freedom, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. Because like I said, it's coming off of that Taurus one. But it technically is in Cancer. We'll look at that when we get to the chart. Venus is moving into Aquarius on the 20th. So you have it in Cancer with all, not in Cancer, you have it in Capricorn with all these energies that are in Capricorn up until the 20th. And then it moves into Aquarius. Again, that's that 6th house. You have the new moon, the sun moves into Capricorn on the 21st. Like I said, even though we're really in that 5th house of Sagittarius, walking through our creative energies, that 6th house is bases loaded, balls to the walls, full of energy right now, trying to make sure you're getting your daily mundane tasks correct and healthy with yourself so that you can bring out that creativity. Because you have the new moon on the 26th with a solar eclipse in Capricorn. Okay, so if you're not right with your daily mundane tasks, you're going to be acknowledging it, especially around this solar eclipse. And then on the 28th, you have Mercury, which is moving into Capricorn. Now, Spirit is saying you need to trust your spiritual urges this month. Trust in your intuition and your gut feeling. Now, like I said, Leo, you don't have anything in your first house for this month. This is the self. This is the self-awareness. This is the physical body, our personality, our appearance, our view of life, our identification, and our image. So we're pretty much feeling like we're in our typical Leo energy. We're very much aggressive. We're very much compassionate. We're very much, on fire, and we're fixed energy. We're always ready to go. And we don't really like change. We like to know that we have our routines and we have them and we're going exactly like so. Now, there's nothing wrong here going for us or against us. It just means, other than the fact, Kokov and the other guardian of, there's three guardians of the poles. Two of them are always in Leo. So it just strengthens who you are. There's nothing there to push you or sway you in either direction for the actual identification, the self-identity. Same with our second house of Virgo. Except for the fact I'm going back and Spirit starting to remind me, Regulus has moved into Virgo. That is, Regulus moves, I think, 1 degree for every 77 years. So, it doesn't move much. So for the rest of our life, our Virgo energy is taking on this Regulus energy. And Virgo is, detail-oriented. It's the finger pointer. It's the lie detector that can see and sift through everything and organize it like so. And for us, this is also with our self-worth, our self-value, our self-esteem, how we create and spend our money. But Regulus has moved into this energy, bringing the heart of the lion in, which means if it does not resonate with our self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, on how to help us rise and mature and feel good in our lioness self, because it's the heart of the lion. That compassion is now moved into the self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. If it's not there supporting the very direction of where you're taking your life, it's not going to work for you anymore the way that it used to. And that's because Regulus is not going to be moving out of Virgo in the entire time you're alive, and is redirecting that self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. Now, as you move into your third house, this is Libra. This is the communication house. You do have Ura here, and you do have Haumea and Make here. Haumea is the collective consciousness, coming very much into the very level of your communication with yourself and the rest of the world. What are you doing, Neptune? Come here. Let me give you some love. For a moment. Because if I give you just enough love to annoy you, you'll be like, I'm over it, Mom. Will that make you happy? Okay. Now, this is Ura. Sacrifice and commitment has moved in on top of the collective consciousness of the proper way to communicate and the proper way of not how to communicate. This is also dealing with your short journeys, your intellect, your trivia, your gossip, your delivery system, your phone calls, text messages. It is also, short journeys of short transportations, like to the store, and how to make that happen to work for you in healthy ways, as well as siblings and neighbors. It's asking us on our communication level, where have we learned where we're Leos, where we're too aggressive and too brash, and maybe that isn't working for us, or maybe where we need to be doing it more because we're not firm. Depending on where you are in your life and what's going on, this is asking us to come to the creative understanding of the very collective consciousness of how we communicate. And how to do it better. How are we charming our way or standing in authority so that we could get the communication we want brought across the board? How are we bringing the sacrifice and commitment into making sure that we are creating what we want by how we actually speak? And are we doing that or not? Now, as we move into that fourth house, this is Scorpio. Now, this is where the new moon, right? This is where the new moon and Sagittarius was having that conversation last month through Scorpio and through Sagittarius. And we had so much energy going on in Sagittarius last month. Not Sagittarius, Scorpio last month. This is our inner emotional security, where our karmic lessons are found, taught. This is where the reincarnation is rebirth by understanding the true roots of self. The heart and soul can't be taken away from a person. The soul can't be taken away. Its power can't be taken away unless you accidentally misunderstood your power and you gave it away. And then that's talking about reclaiming it. The fourth house speaks to us of our home, but it also speaks to us of our inner child and what that inner child grew up to be and why it grew up to be that way, which either works towards or against that inner emotional security, the very roots of the true self and the soul itself. All right. We've been rebirthing and strengthening into inner emotional security, into a new depth of self, into a better, higher understanding and vibrational frequency of self. That's what that energy was all of last month for us, helping us to come into a new level of inner emotional security. Now, you still have Mars here saying we're ready to take action and bringing that inner emotional security forward. But Mars and Scorpio also, has a way of speaking with Chiron at this moment about what is the healthy and right way of doing it and where have we not been doing it. So this is speaking to taking action, taking aggression, taking your inner fire into your very reincarnation of your inner emotional security, but it's also asking you, where are you doing it in abrupt ways? That goes right back to that Mercury, that communication. And are you communicating in ways that are healthy for creating what you want as you take this action? Or not, more or less. Because it is going to be questioning Lilith and the North Node, which means where is it that your fire needs to stand tall? But where is it that your fire is completely tripped into ego at the same time? Versus what you need to learn from your actual 12th house of that inner emotional security of grief, sorrow, shame, and blame that you need to release, surrender, and let go of, because that's making you act in ways that you used to act. And it's keeping that inner emotional security from actually being able to strengthen and move in new ways. The North Node is about everything you need to learn in order to move forward. It's in our universal 12th house, saying we have to overcome our hidden self. We have to overcome our self-deception. We have to overcome that self-undoing, the grief, sorrow, shame, and blame that we set ourselves in our own pity party. And where is Lilith trying to tell us, no, you burn your fire for you? And Mars in Scorpio is saying your inner emotional security counts on this. But how are you communicating it to yourself and the world is about what this is all coming down to. And that fifth house, as Spirit was putting it to me, this is Sagittarius. You do have Mercury, the Sun, and Pallas here. Pallas is Athena, the warrior goddess. She speaks to you about strategic thinking, about being able to actually breathe life into the creativity, into the enjoyment, into the fun of life, into allowing that inner child to actually discover its pursuit of pleasure and where that will bring your life because you're allowing it to happen. Pallas is Athena, the warrior goddess. She comes with wisdom of how to bring that creativity, that fun, that your personal interests, your hobbies, your teaching, your drama, your creative expression, dating, fun, enjoyment, How do you bring that back? The sun is here helping you to illuminate that, helping you to find a way to shine in that energy at this time. But like I said, if you're in your pity party in any way, grief, sorrow, shame, and blame, you are going to tarnish what you should be able to create right now. So this is about finding ways to be healthy and bringing that inner emotional security back to the very creativity and love of self and life. Mercury is swooping through this energy very fast, which is also helping you to communicate what it is you need. You need, your desire, you want in order for you to find that enjoyment and bring that creative expression forward. Now, the sixth house is, like I said, you're walking through the fifth house, but the sixth house is going to determine whether that fifth house is actually running in a healthy way right now, because bases are loaded up in Capricorn. I mean, you have up until the 20th, when Venus actually moves out, you have Pluto, Venus, Saturn, the South Node, Ceres, and Jupiter, all in Capricorn. Capricorn is the foundation. It's the very structure. That's what Capricorn is. You've got rules, walls, and boundaries. You've got Pluto for death, decay, and destruction, for renewal, rebirth, and regeneration. You have sensitivity here saying, this is what's working for me and what's not working for me and why. Then you have Ceres saying, well, what are you nurturing about, your everyday daily tasks, your mundane tasks, and what are you neglecting that's working for or against you? Then you have Jupiter bringing in the abundance. Let me remind you, your everyday daily tasks are your daily work, where you go to work. It's your service, it's your diet, it's your health care. But just as importantly, it is the people, the places, and the things that are in your everyday daily tasks that you tend to overlook and don't realize are so important. But it's one of the most important things. And those people, places, and things are energies you consume. Are you consuming energies that support you finding your inner emotional security, your play, your fun, your enjoyment in life? Or are you feeling weighed down because you have so much responsibilities that you don't have any time to be responsible to yourself? That's what this comes down to. Where are you going to set the rules, walls, and boundaries by realizing what you're nurturing that supports you being responsible to yourself, so that you can nurture yourself by realizing the sensitivities that are making you do exactly the opposite. Trying to restructure those people, places, and things that are in your everyday mundane tasks, your everyday daily responsibilities. These people, places, and things are energies that you're consuming, and if they are not healthy for you, your Venus and your Ceres and Jupiter are going to be telling you all about the changes that need to be made. And it's up to you and your own free will to make sure that you choose you. Because if you're not choosing you, you're not going to get back to your inner emotional security. You're not going to get back to your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. And you're not going to be able to bring the creativity forward and that pursuit of pleasure and happiness forward because you haven't chose you. That's what this month for you really is coming down to being about. And don't forget, on the 26th, you have the new moon taking place in that sixth house of those daily mundane tasks and the people, places, and things that you consume, on top of a solar eclipse. So if you haven't figured it out by then, the universe is going to tell you where you're getting it wrong. All right. Now, as you get into the seventh house, we don't have anything going on here until the 20th, when Venus moves in. This is going to happen right before that new moon and solar eclipse. And that may be dealing with, like I said, the people, places, and things that you consume, because the seventh house is your relationship zone. It is your marriage. It is your partnerships. It is your relationships with your children, your family, your parents, your spouses. But it's also the relationships you have with your working environment. Anything you care about, you have a relationship with. and is speaking to you about how well those relationships are. Venus is moving in. So she's going to help you illuminate these relationships in healthy ways, or she's going to tell you where they are unhealthy relationships, period. And she's going to be doing that right before that solar eclipse, going right back to that 6th house of making you realize the everyday daily tasks of the people, places, and things that you consume of energies. Are these relationships supporting you or unhealthy for you? Do they nurture or are they neglecting because they're only about themselves, is what you're going to be acknowledging. Now, but like I said, that's when Venus moves in and start bringing it to attention right before that full moon. That new moon on the 26th and the solar eclipse. Now, your 8th house is where Neptune just came out of retrograde. It's got Lilith here. And it is the rules of these relationships. So Neptune right now is at its weakest. But Lilith is trying to strengthen it. But she may be strengthening it with a little too much ego. She's asking you, where in these relationships are you giving your power away? Why aren't you burning for you? Why aren't you being responsible to you? And the relationships rules speak to you about the joint finances, the joint resources, the joint efforts. So is there joint? Is there justice in these energies? She's asking you to make sure that you stand tall and that you are seeing that you are part of this, that you are not behind anybody else. You are just as important in these relationships. For both, making sure that you are being given, the joint effort, the joint resource, the joint, finances. Are you being fair? Are you not giving yourself enough credit, or are you giving yourself too much credit? And this is where we create our magic. This is where the death and the rebirth and the transformation takes place, by being responsible in these relationships and noticing where they're out of whack. All right. And it goes straight across to that 4th house of your inner emotional security. Are you finding inner emotional security in yourself within these relationships because of these rules? Are these rules, walls, boundaries, are these joint efforts, joint finances, joint resources, are they not fair? Because it's definitely going to be bringing itself up. This is where, your 8th house is, the rules. And all month it's asking this question. And it's asking the question to your 12th house of, are you overcoming your grief, sorrow, shame, and blame? Are you allowing people to put you at the back of the list? But at the same time, you should be fair and even. You shouldn't be above the list and it only be about you. But it does need to be about you. Now, as you move into the 9th house, for you, this is your higher self. This is where the ethics, the morals, the higher learning, the spiritual urges, the higher education comes in. You have Chiron here. Virgo is a beginning point. With Chiron here, this is asking us in this beginning point of coming into a new, higher understanding of true authenticity, true self. Where have we not reached it? Because of the wounded healer that's not allowing it to happen, because you don't believe of your worth in it. And because of that, you're not able to touch your true authentic self. This is Chiron asking you to heal these wounds so that you can find new beginnings, new self-worth, new self-value, self-esteem. But the problem is Aries is very big at let me start something, and then I get bored because I kind of have to work too hard for it. So, all right, I'm over it. And you can't be all right, I'm over it. Because if you are all right, I'm over it, then that inner emotional security will be lost. So will the self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. So will the creative energy. This comes down to you sticking to your guns. Your 10th house is Taurus, and this is your honor and your reputation. This is saying in the outer community, are you standing in your power? your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your inventive nature, honor, reputation, financial success, social foundation, the community and the responsibility you have to the community and being the authority in your own life. Are you standing in your power? It is also not getting along for most of the month with Jupiter and Ceres. Are you nurturing yourself? Are you nurturing others? This is what it comes down to. I will come back for the last two houses, for the 11th house and the 12th house. But sweeties, this whole month is about standing in your power and nurturing you. I love you.